What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. So today's a fun one. One of my personal favorites that's basically all over consumerism. So here we go. My name is Jaya, by the way. For those of you that are new, welcome to the channel. I talk all things books on this channel with a little bit of random here and there. And I love almost anything fiction, all different genres, all different styles, all different time periods, like everything kind of. I read a little bit of nonfiction here and there, but I will say majority of the time I'm usually reading fiction, and then the nonfiction that I do tend to read is either for a book club because it's been pre-selected and I'm kind of like, fine, I guess I'll read this, or it tends to be very much memoirs and that type of thing, or like exposés like Bad Blood and things like that. That being said, I have a massive collector's mentality as well. I love collecting books. I love having them on my shelf. It just gives me joy. It's definitely my aesthetic. Shoo! One of these videos was due because we haven't done one in a minute. I know I have done a lot of unboxing videos for special editions that have been coming in, and they're finally here. We have been waiting for them. Like literally the orders were placed last year in the summer and they're finally here, some of these books. So I know I've been sharing that journey in some of those books. Today, we are going to be talking about the massive book haul that's happened in the month of April and end of March. So all of these books have been added to the collection within the past week. I think I need to self-impose a book ban because this is a little terrifying. The exception, of course, being my favorite subscription service for books, which is none other than Book of the Month. And I thought I would actually talk about the Book of the Month books that I selected for the month of April because there were quite a few, and some of them are new books that I've been waiting to get my hands on, as well as the massive collection of books that have been obtained over the course of the past few weeks from Barnes & Noble's hauls, which is some of my favorite places to go to. For those of you that are new here, like I said, my name is Jaya. If that sounds like it's definitely your vibe, stick around for this video. Come hang out with us. Come be a part of the Fiction Addicted family and community. And for those of you that are returning, thank you so much for being here. It is my absolute joy and pleasure to be able to create this community and talk all things books, because I just think it's so nice to have a platform where I can share my obsession with books and get feedback and your thoughts, and also just create this ongoing, hopefully, friendship when it comes to reading. I think one of the reasons also why I have been obsessively buying books is because I am in a bit of a book slump. Last video I had posted a video about what I read in a week, and I was able to get through 4 books, which is typically, I would say, my normal. Usually my normal is between 4 to 7 books in a week. I have significantly slowed down. So this week, I have finished one book, which is Deadly Little Scandals, and that one was quite excellent. It is a young adult novel, and it's sitting on the shelf right behind me. It's that yellow book that's on top of the shelf, and it's called Deadly Little Scandals. I'm so sorry, my rug decided to curl under my chair, and that was just a solid good time, so yay me. Also, we went to brunch, and I spilled coffee on myself, so that is why my top is stained. Ooh, that was bad. Sorry, guys. Was not trying to flash anyone there. But yeah, Deadly Little Scandals was the last book I finished. I am currently also going through the Scythe series, and I'm currently reading the second book in the series, which is Thunderhead, and I have about probably a quarter of the book left on that. And I am finally sitting down and starting Powerless. And the reason why I mentioned that is because one of the reasons we're starting Powerless is because the series is finally complete, guys. Lauren Roberts released the final installment in this series very recently, and that would be the reason why we took a trip to Barnes & Noble's. Guys and girls, it is finally here. Fearless has arrived. I know this is a very loved series. I know it has been talked about all over the internet. So to give an idea, my understanding is it's kind of like Hunger Games adjacent, but not quite Hunger Games. It's about a young woman who is basically living in a society where the elites have powers and they are of magical backgrounds, and the poor people or the people who don't have that background kind of live in the slums. So Peyton has basically been living in the like the rich quarters and pretending that she has powers, and using this quote unquote powers, as well as some of the situations that comes up, she ends up saving a royal. And it just so happens that his job is to basically weed out people who don't have magic. So it's like a true enemies to lovers vibe. And it's very high stakes, so I know a lot of people have really liked it. And from my understanding, there's also like trials and things that happen in this series as well. So I know I've heard great things about this series. Now for me personally, I knew that this series was going to be completed this year. So I started collecting the Powerless series last year. And when I realized the final installment was literally coming out this year, I was like, I'm going to wait until the series is complete and then read them as a set. So it's finally happened. So this is here, and your girl is finally starting to read this guy over here, if I can pull her out of the handbag. So we are finally starting this, and just how beautiful are these covers? I'm obsessed with these Barnes & Noble's covers. So super excited for that. So that is the first book that we have obtained in the haul from Barnes & Noble's, was the final installment in Fearless. Now it just seems like April is a bookish month because a lot of great new releases have come out by authors that I'm absolutely obsessed with. So the next book that I ended up picking up is actually Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. Now this book in particular, I was very excited for because I really loved the last trilogy that she kind of wrote. They're independent stories, but within the same world, and the characters overlap. And that was Part of Your World, Truly, Yours Truly, and Last Summer, which were absolutely excellent, and I was obsessed with those. So I'm very excited to see where Say You'll Remember Me takes me. She also wrote 3 books prior to that past series, and that included the books I forgot what they're called, not even gonna lie, but those 3 books were also in the same world. Those I was not as big of a fan on, but they were still 3 stars. So I feel like if her original writings were 3 stars and her new writings were 5 stars, I had to get the new one. So Say You'll Remember Me actually released, I think end of March or beginning of April. And so this has been sitting on my shelf, and I am very excited to read her. She's gonna be read. So that was the next book. The other thing that came out. If you guys like thriller and you like something a little funky, a little bit different, this is actually following a series about a young woman who is a maid at a hotel that's very, very well known, expensive. And unfortunately, in the first book, there's a couple of murders that occur. The second one, a murder occurs, and this maid is the one who solves these murders. Now, the other thing about this that's interesting is that she's actually on the autism spectrum. So she's oftentimes a very ostracized character. A lot of people don't understand her. A lot of people give her a difficult time. People take her for a ride. They don't realize how intelligent and capable she actually is. And they don't understand why she's so obsessed with cleaning and cleanliness and loves taking care of things. And she's also a little socially awkward. She doesn't understand certain cues. So it's a very interesting perspective to be reading from. It's a beautifully written series. I love Nita Prose's writing as well. The stories are very intricate and interesting, and it's nice to see the discovery of this character and her development, as well as the other characters near her, as she kind of starts to realize who's actually important, who are the real relationships that matter to her. So that's been a lot of fun. So far, 2 books have been released in the series, and then we also got a novella as well. I have not yet read the novella. It is sitting on my shelf. It's a Christmas novella, so I'm kind of debating if I want to read it now or if I want to wait for the season to arrive. But this is the 3rd book in the series. So we have The Maid's Secret. And I'm very, very excited to read this because I definitely loved the first 2 books. This one does take place in the middle of a wedding, so I think that's also going to be fun. I have a lot of weddings coming up in my life, not mine personally, but a lot of family that's getting married and close family, sister-in-laws, brothers, cousins, things like that. So like very close family weddings coming up, as well as some friends that are getting married. And I just attended a wedding in March, so I'm just super excited to have this book out, and I can't wait to read this book to get into the vibes and just have fun with it. I'll probably read this at the same time that I read the second book in the Dial A for Aunties series, which is also set in a wedding. So I think that's called 4 Aunties at a Wedding, and I'm excited to like kind of jump into that cozy murder mystery vibe, which is definitely the vibes of this book as well. The next 2 books that I picked up, now these were really random, and I 100% admit that I definitely went for the painted edges. This is dark romance from my understanding, or romantasy vibes. This series is written by Aurora Asher. If anyone has read her, please definitely leave your comments below because I've never read her books, but it sounds intriguing. So this one is like kind of hard to explain because I haven't read them myself. So in this case, I'm just going to read the backs to you guys. These books I actually picked up on a very, very lovely girls' day that I went on with my bestie. She was visiting from out of town and we just had an absolute blast and definitely had too much fun at the bookstore. We definitely enabled each other and there was a lot of damage that was done. These two books I ended up picking up on my own, so I was very excited about getting into this series. So the first book is called My Funny Demon Valentine, and this is the beautiful, beautiful cover. I love the black and the white, the black and the pink, sorry. It just makes me so happy. And then this is the beautiful painted edges, so I'm definitely feeling it. And then I'll read the back to you guys. Asmodeus, Prince of Hell, just wants to make music, jazz specifically. Unfortunately, he's a demon, and he's supposed to be evil. Clearly for Ash, a career as a musician isn't exactly an option. Plus he's cursed. Sick of playing by the rules, Ash and his three brothers escape hell in search of freedom on Earth. But it's harder than they thought to keep their enemies off their tail. Yet everything changes for Ash when he meets a beautiful violinist who can see through his curse. No matter the risk, he has to have her. Evangeline Gregory is just your average human. She works at a jazz bar, plays gigs on weekends, and apparently hallucinates demons. At least that's what Eva tells herself when, moments after she meets the man of her dreams, she sees him shift into a 7-foot-tall monster. Not believing her own eyes, Eva decides to investigate and soon finds herself in the middle of a supernatural cluster F. But Ash isn't the only one keeping secrets, and a shocking truth will change Eva's life forever. Excuse me, guys, pardon me. Or maybe just doom it. The path to love can be complete hell. So I think this one's just gonna be so fun. I love this kind of like dichotomy of the hell and the heaven. So this to mine, like for me, reminds me a lot of the show Lucifer. I don't know if anyone's actually seen that show. It was originally, I wanna say, aired on CW, and then Netflix ended up picking it up and did season 5 with it. And now the series is over. But it is hilarious. It's about Lucifer Morningstar, who basically like is supposed to be the devil in hell, but ends up in LA. And you kind of get to see this human side of him, and the story as it progresses is very interesting. This dichotomy that he has with the main female lead character in the show, who happens to be a cop. So it was just such a fun show to watch. And I was always kind of like very into that vibe. I just thought it was so unique. And I definitely like books like Paradise Lost. I definitely love the story that it's trying to tell of like being aware of temptation. And I fully understand like what that is supposed to represent. But I do think it's fascinating when you get to read books like this, where it kind of puts it into a perspective of, is it like, can evil become good? Or is there another side to this? So like, I like this kind of like romantically pull and push. And I like the villainous character kind of becoming the good guy. So I think this will be fun to read. Another book that I thought was extremely satirical, hilarious, not a romance at all, but it's just really fun read with kind of these vibes in terms of like the hell and earth setting, if that's something you guys are interested in. I know that can be controversial, so definitely whatever you're comfortable with, is the story Good Omens, which was absolutely hilarious, by Mr. Terry something, I want to say. But that book was excellent. I will list it in the comments below if I can figure out what the book name was. But that's also an absolutely hilarious book. I also really like books like Hades and Persephone stories and things like that. So this is like definitely speaking to me and that romantic heart of mine. So this is the next book in the series. It's called My Demon Hunter, also by Aurora Asher. And again, gorgeous, gorgeous painted edges. And I love it. Back of this book, the hunter shall become the hunted. Enslaved to an evil demon queen for millennia, Mist has only ever served one purpose. He is the hunter, the one who drags the guilty back to hell, but finally tasting freedom on Earth has changed him. And for the first time, Mist questions his duty. The human female who smiles at him with no idea what a monster he is, draws him in, and he'll do anything to possess her. And the timid shall become the fierce. Lily Donovan thought the most dangerous thing about running to the corner store at night would be the aisles of junk food. She didn't bargain on encountering chaos in the form of a man with unusual tattoos and beguiling amber eyes. Since the death of her parents, Lily has tried to forget what she is, but denial is not an option when she's confronted with everything she's been running from. So I think this one's going to be really interesting too. This one I feel like doesn't give as much detail as to what the story is going to be. So this one will definitely determine whether I complete the series or not. If it's too much spice and too much sass, I probably won't. I have heard that these books are both very spicy. Knowing me, if the spice is the base of the story, I will probably end up giving these books away. However, if the spice is done tastefully and it's just a part of the story and there's actually more story to it, then I will definitely continue with this series because I just think it's a very fascinating concept and I do think they'll be fun to read. So those were two of the other books that I picked up with the help of my best friend Mina and her kind of pushing me to jump out of my comfort zone and also enabling me. Love you, and I thank you so much for being there for my addiction. Next up, this is the book that, these are two books that she actually bought me. She saw me looking at them and she was like, okay, let's do it. This was our twinsies book. So whenever Mina and I go shopping at Barnes & Nobles, we tend to at least find one book that we both want and then we'll both pick it up and then we'll try to do tandem reading. That never works because I am that awful, awful friend who will read ahead of you and just get too invested in the story and can't slow down. And she's the type of person who likes to cherish and relish her books. So she will take sometimes months to finish a book because she's just not ready to let go of that universe. And I go insane because I'm the type of person where I'm like, if I like a story, I'm going to finish it in 2 days. So it's been hard for us to actually keep on the same track, but we do love getting a good book together and recommending books for each other. So this time around, she found this book and she said that this is one that has been on her list and she's heard of this book before, and it's called Blood on Her Tongue by Joanna Van Veen. It does sound like this is a vampire book. I also loved this book because I just love the dripping blood. I just think that's so much fun and such a unique way to do a painted edge. But this one's basically set in the Netherlands. It is a time, like Victorian times book is my understanding, 1887. It says, I'm in your blood and you are in mine. The Netherlands, 1887. Lucy's twin sister, Sarah, is unwell. She refuses to eat, mumbles nonsensically, and is increasingly obsessed with centuries-old corpse recently discovered on her husband's grand estate. The doctor has diagnosed her with temporary insanity caused by fever to the brain. To protect her twin from a terrible fate in a lunatic asylum, Lucy must unravel the mystery surrounding her sister's condition. But it's clear her twin is hiding something. Then again, Lucy is harboring secrets of her own too. Then the worst happens. Sarah's behavior takes a turn for the strange. She becomes angry and hungry. Lucy soon comes to suspect that something is trying to possess her beloved sister. Or is it madness? As Sarah changes before her very eyes, Lucy must reckon with the dark, monstrous truth or risk losing her forever. So I do think this one's going to be interesting to read. I do think this one's going to be fun. I like the idea of the setting. I like the idea of the characters. I love the dog on the front of the cover, like just such a unique choice. Love the blood red and white mixed flowers. Like it sets a vibe. Do I have any idea what the story is about? Absolutely not. Did we 100% go with judgment of the cover and the back on this one? Yes. Will I let you know what I think about it? Of course I will. But yeah, this was a fun one to pick up, so that's what I did. Then the next book she actually picked up for me. Alex Astor is a pretty common name that I've seen in the book community, and I haven't read it before. Ali Hazelwood is an author that I've definitely followed since she first came out with books, and I enjoy her writing for the most part. I wouldn't say it's anything like super amazing or anything that's going to be like headliner anytime soon, but I do think she's a fun, easy, quick romance author. So when she recommended this book, I was like, this looks fun. Plus, I have heard things like I mentioned about Alex Astor. So this is the new book that she wrote. It's called Summer in the City, and it is a romance. I think it just looks so cute. Also, guys, can we take a moment to just appreciate the map on the inside cover? Like how cute and how beautiful. I love the fact that it has like the botanical garden, the Bronx, like it just looks so cool, this Manhattan, New York map. And then you have like Brooklyn, you have Gramercy Park, but the thing that sold me was the Barnes and Nobles that was on the map. Also, this cover is adorable and I love, love, love the taxis on the painted edges. Like how cute, guys. So freaking cute. So this one. 27-year-old screenwriter Ellie has the chance of a lifetime to write a big budget movie set in New York City. The only problem, she's had writer's block for months, and her screenplay is due at the end of the summer. In a desperate attempt to get inspiration, Ellie ends up back in the city she swore she would never return to, in an apartment she could never afford, floor-to-ceiling windows, skyline views, and a new coffee shop to haunt included. It's the perfect place to write her screenplay when she realizes her new neighbor is tech billionaire bachelor Parker Warren, her stairwell hookup from 2 years ago. It's been a lovers to enemies situation ever since. When seeing him again turns into a full night of hate-fueled writing, Ellie realizes her enemy-twisted muse just might be the key to finishing her screenplay. If she can stand being around her polar opposite, she writes anonymously, and he's on the cover of every business magazine. He frequents fancy red carpet events, and she doesn't like leaving her emotional support 5-block radius. One summer, one wall apart. He needs to fake a buzzy relationship during his company's precarious acquisition. She needs to write a movie around a list of New York City locations. Both need a break from their unrelenting schedules and a chance to rediscover the skyscraper, glimmering, pizza-crusted, sunlight charms of the city. Summer always ends. And so this will as well, this agreement. It's all pretend, promise, until it isn't. And it's just so cute. And I love the metallic, like, little heart as well. So I just think this book is going to be such a cute, fun read. It definitely feels like a summer read for me when I'll probably pick up another romance. But Mina was just very sweet to pick this up for me. The other book that we ended up getting, because of course one wasn't enough, that we both definitely wanted to read is called Blood of Hercules. And this is actually 2 books that have been released. I did wait until I could get my hands on the special edition version of this one. And I just love the painted edges. This just looks so cool. I tend to go through a Greek mythology month every year at some point. So when I'm doing that, I will definitely be picking this up. But this just seems like so much fun. I'm struggling to survive in a Titan-infested world where Spartans, immortals from 12 royal families who have godlike powers and obscene wealth, rule over all. A shy, stammering foster child with nothing, I keep my head down, cover my scars, and focus on excelling in school. At least I try to. Then it happens. My blood test reveals I'm part of the powerful elite. I'm one of them, a Spartan. Forced to attend the Spartan War Academy, I undergo the most harrowing test of all time to see if I have what it takes to be an immortal. There's just a few problems. Achilles and Patro are my scary mentors. Charon, the ferryman of death, and Augustus, the son of war, are my terrifying professors. Also, I'm pretty sure either someone's stalking me everywhere I go or my sanity's slipping. I have a bad feeling both are true. I do feel like this is going to be very much Percy Jackson vibes, but maybe for an older audience. And I used to love the Percy Jackson series. Like, I love Rick Riordan with all my heart. I think he wrote some great series. And I also really liked the blend of the Roman and the Greek that he did with the second set of series he did in that world. So when I saw this, I was like, oh, 100% I have to get on this. Another book I will also mention that it's not part of this collection of books, but was also really, really good and kind of like this Greek mythology but modern world vibe, if you're looking for that, is a book called Lore. I'll also list that in the description box as well. Great, great book. So much fun, very interesting, and just fun standalone book if you guys are interested in reading that. But yes, picked up Hercules, Blood of Hercules. So excited about that. I have also been wanting to do a month, or a video, I should say, not a month, but most likely a month, dedicated to sci-fi, because I used to think I really hated sci-fi, but then I was looking through some of the books I've read recently and the books that I'm reading currently, and I was like, actually a lot of these are very sci-fi or sci-fi adjacent. So I do think I'll probably do like a sci-fi video where I just focus on sci-fi books, or like maybe 2-part video, one where I'm reading new sci-fi books and giving my opinions, and then another one where I kind of talk about some of my favorite sci-fi books that I've read. So if that's something that interests you and that's a genre that you're interested in, please leave a comment below and I will definitely get to making that. But one of the people that actually inspired me to pick up this book series was my brother-in-law to be. He had mentioned that he's really into sci-fi and that he's been reading this series. Now, this particular author is an author that I absolutely love. She wrote Babel. She wrote Yellowface. So if you guys know who I'm talking about R.F. Kuang. I think her writing is very unique and her stories are very unique. So she happened to also do a series called the Poppy Wars series. And so we have the Poppy War, then we have the Dragon Republic, then we have the Burning God. And this series is like 100% sci-fi vibes. This book, Poppy Wars, which is the first one, is about the following. When war orphan Rin aced the Keiju, the empire-wide test to find the most talented youth to learn at the academics, she surprised everyone, test officials, the guardians who wanted to marry her off and further their criminal enterprise, and even herself. But being a dark-skinned peasant girl from the south is not easy at Singard, the most elite military school in Nikan. Targeted by rival classmates for her color, poverty, and gender, Rin discovers that gods long thought dead are very much alive, and that she possesses a lethal, unearthly power, an aptitude for the nearly mythical art of shamanism, which that could be the weapon that the Empire desperately needs. While Nikara is at peace, its enemy and former occupiers, the Federation of Mugen, bides its time, and a third Poppy War is just a spark away. Rin's shamanic powers may be the only way to save her people. Yet, as she discovers more about the god that has chosen her, the vengeful phoenix, she fears that winning the war may cost her humanity, and it already may be too late. So this definitely feels like maybe a little bit sci-fi, maybe a little mythological, maybe a little bit... I'm guessing like the sci-fi comes from the military school aspects and things like that, and then the mythology is kind of the world building, and then obviously high stakes because of the war that's like imminent and potentially could happen. So I am very curious to see where this series might take me, and I do think that it's going to be one that I definitely enjoy. This I've seen in both the fantasy section as well as the sci-fi section, so I'm not really sure what it falls into. If you guys know specifically categorically where it falls into, let me know. But this is definitely a series I was intrigued by, and I do think I would put it in my sci-fi month from what I've read about the series. So that's another one. Also, continuing on, like I said, April is just a month of releases. Another book that released recently is See You at the Altar. This is the third book in a cozy fantasy series. The first one is... What is the first one called? Hold, please, guys. Hold, please. The first one is Can't Spell Treason Without Tea. So that one I haven't read yet, but I've heard great reviews about it. This is a sapphic series. So if that's something that you're opposed to or something that you love, this might be a great series for you guys. I am very excited to read this. I just think it sounds so funny. So it's basically about two women who just want to settle down and have a simple life, but because of their mercenary backgrounds and their powers and things like that, they keep getting dragged into various adventures and they're just not allowed to settle down. And all they want to do is open up a cozy tea shop and like have some books around and chill. So it's very Legends and Lattes vibes as well. So if that was a book that you enjoyed, you'll probably enjoy this one as well. Lots of adventure and fun little characters and things like that happen. So I'm very excited for this one. This is the third book in the series, and I will definitely be picking this up and the series up in general during the cozy mystery, cozy fantasy season, which will probably be later in the fall. But I am very excited to jump to this one. So again, this is the third book in the series, so I'm excited for that. It's following two main characters, Kyanthi and Reyna, and this one is when they're finally ready to get married. Now, the fun thing about this one is there's also dragons. I love dragons. So I'm super excited for this one too. Next up, I have the third book in Emily Wilde's series. So this one is The Compendium of Lost Tales. It's book 3 of the Emily Wilde series. It's by Heather Fawcett. Now, this book, I will say there are mixed reviews on this series. I personally have not sat down and read it yet, but it does feel like it's going to be a very literary, technical series. She tends to write in very flowery prose, and she also tends to use a lot of big words that may not necessarily be needed. So if you're looking for something that's a little bit more simple, a little bit more easy, then I would definitely say this is not the series. But I've also heard some people say that the prose is so much fun and that it's such a fun world and like it just is such a fantastical, fun time. And it starts with Emily Wilde's Encyclopedias of Fairies. And so I am excited to get into this series as well. I also think this will be in the cozy fantasy time period. and I'm very much looking into reading this. I also think this is going to be slow reads for me because of the language and the prose. I think I'm going to have to pay attention to the wording a little bit more, but I am excited to jump into this. And from my understanding, this book also released relatively recently. So I think I had not seen this on the shelves until recently. But this was definitely a 2025 release. I just don't remember if it was like March or April or a little bit sooner, but another one in a series collection that I have that I had to pick up. And I'm just so excited that all of these books are getting released. So yay. Now we get to the part where we are no longer talking about the massive amounts of money I wasted at Barnes & Noble's. We are now talking about the massive amounts of money I wasted at Book of the Month, because this month's selection of Book of the Month books was just phenomenal. I was so excited. So Book of the Month is basically a subscription service that is all about books. They put out new curated books by different authors and different genres that are new releases that may or may not be debut authors as well, or like repeat authors, depending on what people have been excited about in the past. On a curated website where it's easy access. The beauty of this subscription service is also it's $10.99 per month, and you get a brand new hardbound book that is a new release, which is really exciting. You can also add books on for $14.99, I believe, or $9.99. Maybe I flipped that. Maybe it's $14.99 and $9.99, or $9.99 and $14.99. But what I'm saying is it's a great deal, and it does have a lot of unique selections. So this month, this massive box arrived on my doorstep because I ended up getting 5 books, guys. 5 books. So the first book that I ended up picking, and the book of the month that I picked for April, is actually an Indian author, and I was very intrigued by this book. This book is by Alka Joshi. It's called 6 Days in Bombay, and it seems like it's kind of like a mystery, and I love the woman in her beautiful, beautiful green sari. Like, that just makes me so happy inside. But here we go. This is what it's about. This sweeping novel of identity and self-discovery takes readers from 1937 Bombay to Prague, Florence, Paris, and London to uncover the mystery behind a famous painter's death. So I just think this one's going to be a fun read. I'm not going to read the whole cover because it is a little bit long, and I realize this video is getting very long, but definitely looking forward to reading this book. Next up, I picked another one that just seemed like it was so much fun. This was also one of the books that you could pick for the month of April, and that is Passion Project by London Speary. And this also kind of gives very similar vibes to the Alex Astor book that I had picked up. So this is basically following a character, Bennett Taylor, who should be living her best life, but she's failing miserably. Emphasis on miserable. Adrift in NYC, she has no direction and no energy to find one. When Bennett is set up on a first date with Henry Adams, she drunkenly confesses that she's not ready to love again. In fact, she doesn't feel passion for anything. Not pottery, not sports, nothing. Irrepressibly adventurous, Henry offers to help Bennett uncover her passion for life. Every Saturday, you'll try a new activity, as friends, of course. Their passion project finds them sampling photography, tattooing, even rappelling off skyscrapers. But when secrets surface, Bennett finally has to face the grief that's holding her back. With tenderness and electric banter, Passion Project is a story of finding a spark and igniting happiness. And I just love this idea of self-discovery, this idea of finding passion for, what you love again, finding joy in things around you, especially in the environment we're living in today. Right now, things are very overwhelming, very scary. We don't know where the world is going. We don't know what's going to happen. And I think it's something that helps you re-find your roots and find joy in your roots. That's something that's super important to me. And it's something that I'm struggling with myself. Even something as simple as like walking into my closet and rediscovering my clothes, or rediscovering a passion for music or dance or whatever it might be. It's just been so much fun to do that, as well as just enjoy the places that I live nearby, whether it's going to the beach for a nice little sunset dinner or a picnic, or whether it's like walking down the street and just like listening to the music and the vibes that are around. It's just such a cool idea. And I love this idea of discovering the city through these characters and just watching their passion bubble up from these new discoveries that they find in a moment that's like really challenging and difficult, and they're trying to overcome this grief. I just think it's going to be such a great book. So I'm very much looking forward to Passion Project. Next up, This book actually came out a while ago. This came out in February. I have read one book by this author and I absolutely loved it. And I tabbed the heck out of that book because I think her prose is phenomenal. And that is none other than B.K. Borison. This is a book called First Time Caller. It's basically about a radio host who's kind of given up on life. He's like in romance and like he's kind of sad, but he is an amazing host. And so this daughter calls into the show and says, hey, my mom has been single forever and I'm worried about her finding someone. So basically he calls her to come onto the show and together they're finding her the perfect partner. I think this one just sounds so fun and the story sounds so fun. I do feel like it's relatively predictable in the sense that you do think that they're going to get together very soon. But I think one thing about B.K. Borison that I really like is her prose and her ways of setting up scenes. And I love how she develops secondary characters. The one book that I have read by her, it does seem like it was the first book she ever wrote. And that one, it was really hard to get behind the main character. But from what I've heard, as the series has progressed, each character has become more in depth and they've become more three-dimensional. And I think that combined with her writing is just going to create the most beautiful story ever. So I'm very much excited to read First Time Caller. I've seen rave reviews on this book online, and I'm so excited to sink my teeth into it. Now this book that's coming up sounds like it's just going to be so much fun. This is by Heather McBreen. It's called Wedding Dashers. And it's basically about a woman who needs to get to her sister's wedding. And she's not getting along with her sister right now. And she just happens to have to get there with her ex, who drives her insane and makes her nuts. And they go through comedy of errors trying to get to this wedding, and she just wants life to work out. Now that just sounds hilarious to me. I am so excited to read this. I am so excited to get on this movie ride and watch it. It reminds me of a great old school like Julia Roberts film. It reminds me of like what I used to get watching Ross and Rachel on Friends. Like I am so excited to go back to that time in my life and just like sit through that experience. It reminds me of some of the crazy dates my husband and I went on before we got married. And I just think this is going to be such a fun read. And I'm so excited to sink my teeth into it. Last but not least, guys, I've been waiting for this book. Is literally what I heard when I realized this book is releasing. I was obsessed with Phantasma last year. Like I loved it. I felt like that was like a dark Caraval. Like it was so good. Like Hunger Games plus Caraval set together in like gothic setting. Oh my God. Loved that book. Loved it. Loved it so much. And so when I found out Enchantra, the second book in the series, which follows the crazy, ridiculous, impulsive, fun sister is coming out, I was like, I need to read this book. So let me read the inside cover of this one because I just kind of want to read it again because I'm just so excited. Here we go. Welcome to Enchantra. There's only one rule. Never, ever trust your heart. When Genevieve Grimm's mother dies, she's left with questions no one can answer until she receives an invitation to Enchantra, a cursed palace in Italy frozen in time. Though denied entrance by the sinfully handsome yet hostile Rowan Silver, Genevieve finds her own way in and soon realizes her mistake. For Enchantra is a twisted labyrinth where Rowan and his 6 siblings are trapped in a deadly game, at the mercy of a twisted devil and his ghastly spectators. Only one occupant of the house can survive. Genevieve now must win or die. Rowan warns her he's the deadliest of the Silvers, that he always wins, that her only chance is to compete as his wife. So they must convince their audience they're desperately in love. And while Genevieve's willing to do whatever it takes to survive, she also knows she can't trust Rowan, that the desire burning between them is a lie. After all, it was Rowan who taught her Enchantra's first rule: never ever trust your heart. So I think this one's going to be really fun too. It does sound like it's very similar to Phantasma, but I think it's going to be fun to do the book from Genevieve's perspective. And I just think this is going to be such a fun book. I do believe this is the final book in the duology because the first book followed the older sister and then this one's following the younger sister. So I do think it's the final book that she's going to be writing in this world. But I could not wait to get my hands on this book by Miss Kaylee. So I'm so excited to read this. And that brings me to the conclusion of all of the books that I have accumulated in the month of April alone, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 books. 16 books. I am also thinking at some point I might just do a video either for myself or for the interview where I go through my bookshelves and pick out all of my physical TBR because I'm scaring myself with how many books I have bought at this point. So I do think I'm going to slow down on the book buying, with the exception of Book of the Month, because Book of the Month is just something I need in my life. I genuinely love them. I am not sponsored by them. They do not even know that I exist outside of the fact that I buy their books, but love their curations and their selections. So I do think I'll continue doing that. But outside of that, I really want to challenge myself to not go pick out any new books unless it's a new release by an author for a series that I'm already reading. So for example, I wouldn't mind going at the end of this month to pick up King of Envy, which is the 5th book in the Anna Huang series that I have been collecting, the Prince of Sin series that she's doing. So that is definitely something I would look out for. If Carrie Maniscalco ends up releasing the 3rd book in the Prince of Sin series and her series, I will definitely pick up that. If Sarah J. Maas blesses us, graces us with the next book in her series, I will absolutely pick that up, regardless of whether that's, Crescent City series or whether that is, the ACOTAR series. I will be picking that book up. So those are the exceptions. I will find exceptions if it's part of a series, but otherwise we are going to be slowing down on the books. We're probably going to go on a little bit of a book buying ban. So I truly appreciate all of you making it this far. If you did, thank you for hanging out with me. I hope some of these books were inspiring to you guys, and if you have read any of these books, definitely let me know what spoke to you, what you have read, what you've loved, and if you have similar books on your TBR, so we can read these books together and go on this journey together. Thank you so much for watching, guys. It was so much fun talking to you, and once again, thank you for being here, and thank you for supporting the channel, and thank you for supporting the fiction addiction, if you will. And I'm very much looking forward to continuing to read and chat all about the books with you guys, whether it's morning, evening, or night, wherever you are. I hope you have a wonderful, blessed rest of your day, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.